Okay, it's Monday. It's uncharacteristically mid-afternoon at this point, but I'm going to go into file for today. Actually, the first pot from the 24th is actually doing quite well now. We've got all 4 plants popped. The second pot, looks like we got both of the pole beans, and the yard long is just starting to pop there. And I can just barely see, but you might not be able to see it. The bean is kind of surfacing again. I don't know if that means it's going to sprout. Over here in the third one, we've got, looks like pole bean here. And this one, I'm starting to wonder if that's actually the peas, the snap peas, which were supposed to be right in the middle here. And maybe they just washed over here. That might explain the 2 different plants and the fact that the leaves are different. So that would make this the yard long, and we've got another one of the pole beans starting to pop. Nothing on a squash here or here. Nothing on the stuff I planted yesterday, which would be this one too. The tree's okay here. Hasn't really given me any change. Moving over here, these have gotten, I don't know if they're any larger or not, but they're still nice and healthy, which keeps me happy. We got the tomato. That's my air conditioner you're hearing in the background. Tomato's actually doing pretty nicely, although it sometimes gets to this stage and doesn't do anything. One thing that was missing, let me actually back off a bit here. One thing that was missing in my last update was somebody had suggested that I actually tried milk on the tomatoes. And so I did. I actually tried. I had a little video where I was showing myself actually putting the milk in there, but unfortunately that video didn't make it. So maybe I'll give it another shot today, and then we'll see what happens tomorrow. Okay, so it's Tuesday morning. Stinker's got his food, and let's see. I don't know. Doesn't seem like there's too much more fry. I mean, everything's growing. All the new stuff, no real signs of sprouting yet, but it's only been, what, a day and a half. Working over here, these are still doing okay. The one thing I did notice is up here, the buds have actually spread out even wider than I'm used to seeing. So maybe the milk thing was actually a good idea. Thank you for the suggestion. Over here, flowers are doing okay. I'm going to end up doing some deadheading and working back over to the herbs. Nothing yet, but again, it's only been a couple of days on those, so until tomorrow. Okay, Wednesday morning, and basically this is what these pots look like, just so I can document them. No change in these 2 pots, no germination in these pots just yet. Tree looks the same. The major sort of change, if anything, it's not even so much a major change, is, but I'm impressed by the milk experiment. May have really done some good here. These 2 buds just seem so lively now, so we'll see what that turns into. Okay, so it's Thursday morning about 10 a.m. and there's only a couple of developments. Nothing really too much different, but I did notice that this one little plant down here looks almost like it got chewed off, so I'm wondering, looks like the one on this side here got chewed off. I don't know if that might be our grasshopper coming back, and if it is, I'm going to have a real problem with that guy. I'll have to figure out how to get rid of him. The other thing being, if I come over here, these have slowed down a little bit on the tomato plant, so I don't know if that means anything or if it's just because the sun hasn't hit them yet today. Other than that, pretty much no change. Alright, I've made a bit of a decision since a lot of these don't seem to be sprouting just yet. Now, I mean, these in the back I really would have expected. These were only planted last weekend, but here's the decision. I'm going to go ahead and plant more seeds, but I'm going to plant them in these little trays that you get from the nursery, which I've saved when I bought some of my flowers. So, here's another little tip for you folks. I found these at the 99-cent store, and these are really nice. They're nice and thick. But they're, trays for collecting the water, so I don't end up with water all over the table here. And they were really designed more for, like, okay, I could put a couple of pots like this side by side, actually probably the smaller ones, but what I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to use these, But as it turned out, I can fit 2 of these side by side in one of those trays. I only have 3 of them available. So what I've got on top of that is I've got the ones that are shaped like this. So the solution is going to be I'm just going to cut off 2 of the 4 on this one, and that way I'll have a total of, I think I can fit them in there. I'm going to play around with it a bit, but we'll see how many plants I can actually plant. Okay, so we've got 4 kinds of squash, watermelon, and cucumber in the seeds, and between the flats here I've got a total of 22 spaces. Since I don't care as much about the first 2 squash there, those are the ones that are going to come up short, but otherwise by my calculation I can do 6, well actually no, I'm going to have to recalculate, but basically I'm going to try and get as many up each as possible, where if anything's going to come up short, it's going to be those first 2 squash. Okay, now just for the sake of documentation, until I can actually get it written down, we've got these first 4 here are spaghetti squash, the next 4 are the scallop squash, the next 4 are the lemon cucumber, then over in this one here, the next 4 are the baby watermelon, and then doing it a little bit differently for the remaining squash, I did 1, 2, 3 with, what's it called, the Dixie hybrid, and then 1, 2, 3 with the early prolific straight neck. So we'll see how all this works out. This is turning into a longer day on video than I expected, but I just want one quick update here. I'm thinking about using my good old Miracle Grow here, and since this is an experimental garden on top of other things, I think I'm just going to put 1 little pellet in to each one of the different seed categories, so I'll be able to compare with and without. And now for the main garden update. I have now taken, in these first 3 planters, I've taken the peas and I've actually moved them over to one of my really old planter boxes. This was a few years ago when I very first started on all of this. I had like 4 of these little ones, and they were on the other side where the bigger planter boxes are now. But I keep them, as long as they're not broken, I keep them and just put them in my parking space. And so anyway, moving on. So we've got, these are pretty much kind of where they were, except that now the peas are missing from this pot and that pot. And looking closely in this pot, I see a little bit of what could be a root that was coming up and maybe dried out. So maybe the yardlong just died here. Or maybe that's the pea, since it was indeed the pea that had moved from the center over to the left pole bean. So anyway, now they look a little bit more consistent, and oh, and the root system on the pea was amazing. It just went all the way down to the bottom of the pot. No real progress on the squash or the watermelon or the stuff that I just planted a day or so ago. Not really expecting anything there. Over here, the other tree, no change. These are probably a little bit bigger, I'm not sure. They don't look like they're growing that much, but maybe they are, or maybe it's putting out more roots. The lima bean that was kind of suffering, you can kind of see how the leaves have dried out. But if I go in a little bit closer, if it doesn't blur on you, then you can see there's some new growth in there, so I think it's starting to come back. I may lose all the original leaves. On the tomato, I noticed last night that when it got full sun, those flowers opened up, so it may not have actually been so much the milk as it is the sun. So, and if you look, if I come back a little bit, you can see the line where the sun is. So this is actually a little too high. I think I need to actually drop this one down somehow. Moving on, we've got all the flowers, pretty much same-o, same-o. And then over here on the chamomile, let's see if I can find it. I'm going to come up and over. Yeah, and then way down there, you can see a tiny, tiny little one. Now, I'm not sure if that's a weed or the chamomile, but we may be getting some progress now. Only 6 days in. That's actually pretty impressive. So that's it for today. Alright, it's Sunday, but there's only one real sort of development here. And that is that I finally have what looks to be a plant starting to peek through, and this would be the spaghetti squash. So that's one of the 3 seeds. Oh, actually, now that I look at it, even closer, looks like there might be another one starting to peek up through there. So that's pretty much about it.